Yeah, very good, thanks. Yeah, very good indeed.
A great escape indeed for Aston Villa. How unlikely was this, in your view, 4 or 5 weeks back?
Well, four games ago, they looked like they were doomed. But then they got the 2 wins and 2 draws in the last 4 matches, 8 points. It was absolutely massive. And, they had to dig it out yesterday against a West Ham side who've been in very good form. Watford, their results in the last couple of games have been pretty poor. And then you had Bournemouth going to Everton and getting a fantastic win, which put pressure on Villa. But they done enough to get over the line, and I'm sure Dean Smith and all the players and everyone associated with Villa are delighted to be a Premier League club for next season.
What's the main reason, in your opinion, that they did turn it around over those last 4 games?
Well, I think a little bit of confidence, a little bit of belief. Obviously, the players were getting fitter the more games that they were playing. I think early on, in all the games that I watched, you could tell that the pace of the game was quite slow. But the more they were training, the more games they were playing, they were actually getting better. And I think with Villa, if they defend well, and that's always something that was levelled against them, if they defend well, it gives them a platform to, get some goals. And that's what they've done. If you looked at the results recently, they haven't conceded as many goals as they've done previously. And that was a very important point. And Jack Grealish, we don't know if that's going to be his last game for the club or not. But he's a Villa fan. He's been around the club for a number of years, and he'll be delighted that he's helped to keep them safe.
What's your take on that? How likely is it that Jack Grealish is a Villa player come next season?
Well, I mean, the point with this is what's your ambition as a player? And it depends who is going to pay the money for him. Because I would imagine at the moment, with his age and the way that he's really responded to the Premier League, I mean, that was a question mark, wasn't it? How would he do in the Premier League? And he's done exceptionally well. He's been Villa's best player. He's been the player that they've gone to when they've been struggling. He's come up with so many important goals. And it would just be dependent upon who comes in for him. But, yeah, if he wants to go and make a better career for himself, then he might have to move on from Aston Villa. Although Villa have got money. I have heard this. But Aston Villa have got a good owner who's very willing to put money into the club. So it might be dependent on their recruitment policy as well. And if they can bring in the right personnel, it might just tempt them to stay for another year just to see where the club is going. Because if you can get success with your homegrown club and the club that you've supported as a youngster, there's no better joy than that. So it will be dependent on what Dean does as far as bringing in the right personnel.
Do you think that perhaps the talk around Jack Grealish joining one of the traditional top 6 clubs has cooled a little bit over the last little while? Obviously, there was controversy surrounding Grealish over lockdown, a couple of antics, breaking lockdown procedures and all that sort of thing. Do you think that cools the jets a little bit if you're Manchester United or Tottenham?
No, I don't really, because I think, okay, there was a few transgressions from that point of view, but overall, I think he has grown up a little bit in many respects. That might be against what's happened, when he's coming out or doing what he did through lockdown. But as a player, he's grown. On the pitch, he's grown, certainly. He's taken a lot more responsibility. He's doing a lot more in possession of the ball. And I think one of the things is who's got the money. I mean, it's quite easy to say to move on, but I don't know how much, clubs like Chelsea, if they're going to be looking at someone like Jack Grealish, Manchester United. I know Man United have got the money, but the others, I'm not so sure at the moment with the environment we're in. There's a lot of clubs that are struggling because obviously the finances isn't quite there. I'll give you an example with Tottenham. Tottenham normally bring in $5 million every home game. They haven't got that. There's no one coming to the game. So, that's money they haven't got, and they have to be self-sufficient. So I don't know how much money the likes of a Tottenham, for example, will have, or an Arsenal, if they're the sort of clubs that might be looking at Jack Grealish. So we'll have to wait and see, what the priorities are for the clubs and the sort of players that they're looking at.
It's a really good point, and that self-sufficiency is a point I wanted to touch on in the context of Liverpool, Ray, because obviously they got to 99 points, an incredible tally yesterday afternoon, and the possibility of now dominating, of at least starting with back-to-back titles, is going to be one of the big themes in the off-season because of that self-sufficiency, because of the fact that perhaps the transfer market won't explode as it usually did in previous summers. Are Liverpool now really well placed to actually back this up and do back-to-back titles?
Yeah, I think they are well placed, but I think there will be obviously some opposition from the likes of Manchester United, who had a good end to the season. Chelsea, who have already, they've already gone out there, haven't they, with the likes of Ziyech and a couple of others who they've got out and bought, Werner as well. So I think they've been doing good business behind the scenes, Chelsea. I think they have to look at the defence and goalkeeper, though. I think that is a weakness because the consistency from that area of the field isn't quite there. I think Manchester United will be there or thereabouts. I think they will add in as well. I think there's funds there for them to go and spend. Man City, they need to spend. Liverpool, they've actually got some very good youngsters coming through. So they need to go out and spend big on players from outside the club at the moment. Might not be as relevant because they have got, the good squad and the strong squad there. And it's amazing, isn't it? We've had, Man City 2-3 seasons ago, 100 points. Liverpool 99 last season. Man City 98, Liverpool 97. So there is a dominance there, isn't there? And if you look at, I think someone was pointing out to me, Manchester United were near a relegation, but they were 32 points ahead of the likes of Bournemouth, and they were 33 points away from Liverpool. So it's a massive gap, isn't it, when you look at it that way?
It really is. Do you put that down to the fact that the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool are taking the Premier League to a height we've never seen before, or do you think it's to do with the middle third and the bottom third really falling away in recent years?
Well, I think there's a bit of that. I think a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, Liverpool 32 wins this season. They had 30 last season. That's an incredible achievement, isn't it? And Man City, had 2 seasons like that as well, didn't they? Where they had 100 points in the following season. Last season they had 98. So it just shows you that with certain clubs when they get on a run, they're very difficult to play against, and virtually teams are beaten before they've even kicked a ball. But there's a middle ground at the moment, and I think because of the riches in the Premier League, it's all about survival. As long as you don't finish in 18th, 19th and 20th spot for the likes of teams like Sheffield United, and teams like that, Burnley, West Ham, they're happy enough to survive. I was at Crystal Palace yesterday. They've got no funds there, so it's of paramount importance that they stay in the division to get some money in, maybe just to bring in 1 or 2 new faces. But already which teams are going to struggle for next season and the ones that are going to be competing for the top spots.
For sure. Having now seen Liverpool achieve the 99 points, the second greatest total in the history of the Premier League in a single season, where do they now rank, having seen the 38 games overall, in terms of the great Premier League winners?
Well, they've been first class. The problem they're going to have is because of the pandemic and the fact that the season was so fragmented. It's been going on forever, hasn't it? I was at Crystal Palace yesterday, and we were making the joke about, Liverpool was in the Champions League final 13 months ago. And we're still going in the league. That's how mad this season has been. But it'll be memorable, maybe not for the right reasons, but for the Liverpool supporters, they've had to put up with ridicule, if you like, for 30 years, not winning the Premier League and not winning the title in that space of time. They'll just be delighted and happy that they've finally won it. And at the moment, they are current Premier League champions, current European champions, and current World Club champions. That's a remarkable turn of events, if you like, since Jurgen Klopp's come in. The finals he's got them to and the trophies that they've won.
For sure. And I think even the pandemic, Ray, probably makes it an even more memorable season. We're certainly not going to forget the way they've done it in a hurry. Listen, Ray, good chatting to you. Thanks a million for taking the call.
Yeah, thank you.
Ray Houghton there on the line. We'll be talking to another former Aston Villa player in Paul Merson in just a moment here on OTB AM.